Why do the French love croissants so much? I'm in Paris. Recently I made a video about French food and why a lot of people see it as this fancy romantic cuisine. And diving into the history of the cuisine, it gave me a real appreciation for the food. But there's one thing that's been bugging my mind about French cuisine, and it's this.
Anyone want a croissant?
Are you going to finish that croissant?
Croissants are like probably the most popular food in France. It's this pastry that's basically just layered dough folded over butter and rolled again and again to look like this. But croissants aren't really from France. They're from here, Vienna, Austria. So how did this become a croissant? And how did croissants become one of the most loved and cared for food in France? This is the Kipfer from Austria. Like in my video about Vienna's cafes, it supposedly came from the Turkish invasion of Vienna. Yeah, the Turkish and Austrians have like a thing. Apparently the shape of the Kipfer, a crescent moon, came from the 1600s to mock the Turkish crescent. The idea was that every time an Austrian ate a Kipfer, they were eating a Turkish enemy, which is kind of a bit dramatic, but I want to know, how did this very Austrian hating the Turkish symbol take over France? It's like greasy with butter, but also there's a bit of char in the bottom that gives it like an extra layer of like sophistication. It's really good. So an indicator of a good croissant is if it's crunchy on the outside and really soft on the inside. That's what most people in France look for in a croissant. No, that's so good. So it all began here, in Paris in the 1800s. An Austrian man named August Zang opened a Vienna-style bakery in Paris. And in his bakery, he sold Kipfer. And Parisians basically fell in love with the pastry from the beginning. French bakeries all around Paris started imitating the Kipfer, making their own versions of it. And by the early 1900s, the Kipfer eventually transformed into this. This is a croissant, which means crescent in French. By the way, the guy who opened up the Viennese bakery became really proud that he was kind of like the origin of the croissant, so much that he actually claimed to have invented the baguette as well. Weird dude. But even though he introduced the Kipfer to Paris, the modern-day croissant is really different. I mean, Kipfer usually uses brioche dough, while croissants use laminated dough, which basically means thin layers of dough with butter in between. And also the French have added yeast to the dough for croissants, which gives it its unique, airy, puffy texture. It's why croissants are so flaky and buttery. And it's honestly kind of crazy that within only 100 years of history, there's already so many different variations to croissants. So today I'm in Paris, and I want to go around to find some of the best croissants in town, and explore the different variations of croissant that exist today. Oh, and also I forced my friend Alex to come down here from the UK to eat croissants with me and give me his cheeky thoughts.
He told me he's a big shot YouTube star, and he promised if I paid him $5,000, he'd make me famous.
No, I didn't. So you might have noticed that not all croissants are shaped the same way. Some are straight and some are curved. And they both have different names because there's actually a reason to why they're different shapes. Straight croissants have to be made with butter, while curved croissants are usually made with margarine or other kinds of fat. And this isn't a stylistic choice, by the way. This is actually the law. It's in French law that all straight croissants have to be made with butter. Yeah, that's how seriously the French take croissants. there's actual laws for this pastry. Let's see how this croissant is. It's nice. It's definitely different. This one definitely doesn't have like a buttery feel to it, but it's properly soft. It's like a pillow. It's really, really good. It's crusty on the outside and really kind of cloudy almost on the inside. These croissants are probably what you picture when you think of the pastry, but there's a lot more variations to croissants. The next one I want to try is called pain au chocolat. To be honest, I always thought that this was its own pastry, but it's actually considered a croissant because it's made with laminated dough over chocolate. I'm actually not a big fan of chocolate, so I almost never eat this version. But I'm in Paris, so I kind of want to try it. So this is a pain au chocolat. Let's try it out. Okay, that's really nice. There's very little chocolate actually in the bread, so I think it's a really nice balance. It's not overkill. It's the perfect balance of sweetness with, what do you consider the flavor of bread? Is it savory?
For me?
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that. It tastes like bread.
Yeah, wait, bread is bread.
Yeah.
Bread's not like savory. It could be sweet, I guess, or anything. Wait, now I'm like thinking about what the flavor of just normal bread is. Like unflavored bread. But anyways, this is actually really good. I'm not like a huge chocolate person, so I usually don't care for this kind of stuff so much, but yeah, no, this bakery, Sain, I believe it's called, Sain, yeah, they make really good pain au chocolat. And it's so easy to eat too. It's flaky, but it's also consistent. It doesn't fall apart. I mean, it's been really stable as I've been like biting into it, but it has all the proper layers of a croissant.
I'm just gonna bite right in here.
What'd you get?
I don't know what it's called. Began with a P.
You got bread and you didn't know what it was called? Why did I invite you to France?
You know, I'm British. I'm ignorant to good food. I just put things in my face.
The final variation of croissants I want to show today is pain au raisins, which, you guessed it, is croissant with raisins. It's also usually filled with custard or some other kind of cream, and honestly is probably my favorite version of a croissant. So I'm really excited to try this one. Wow. Custard and the raisin, it's really, really sweet, but oh my god. The sweetness is mixed in really well with the toastiness of the pastry.
That is really good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with me.
I love these sort of arcades in Europe. They have such a cool vibe to them. I mean, I get why the French are in love with these. They're so easy and so good. And they go well with coffee and tea, and you know, they're more sophisticated than toast. Not trying to shit on toast or anything like that. So, I happen to be in Paris during Bastille Day, and that means I get to be right next to a tank. So what's really unique about Bastille Day is that after the military parade, they just kind of park all of the military artillery and vehicles in like the middle of Paris, and they just park it, and they like let you just like take pictures in them and like go inside and whatnot, right?
This is cool as hell. We just got in a tank.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna try on a helmet.
But with like everything else in the world, there is a problem. We might be on the verge of a global butter shortage. Yeah, the world is running out of butter too. And this rise in butter costs has been hurting a lot of smaller independent bakeries all across France. You see, Paris has this image of being filled with local, small, independent bakeries, but a lot of them have actually been closing down. French people these days usually go to supermarkets over these bakeries because supermarkets tend to be cheaper. It's gotten to the point where even an industry group supporting French bakers have been claiming that a bakery crisis is coming.
Nos croissants? Non, monsieur.
Now, I know it's all a bit alarmist thinking. Industry groups usually overreact, but there are some real visible evidence to this. I mean, many bakeries in France have been closing recently, to the point that even the government is beginning to send them aid. The modern world just isn't really friendly to independent institutions like cafes or bakeries anymore. And with inflation on energy and supply costs, problems like this are on the rise. But to be honest, I have hope for croissants and the local bakeries producing them, because I think the French love them enough to figure out a way to keep them alive and accessible. I mean, if the French are known for anything, they really care about protecting their history and culture.
Bon appetit.
Is that all you have to say?
What should I say? Feed me questions.
What did you get?
The cheese and tomato. I don't know what it's called actually, but it looked really good and it is really good.